I have one. Can we compare two arrays in C sharp? And by compare, I mean the actual values inside two arrays. Let's find out. Let's say I have two arrays first, and I will initialize that with integers 1, 2, and 3 and 4. And I will use the same for the second one this way. I can rename it to second. And if I try to print by comparing those arrays, let's say if I try to print first equals to second, so what will be the output? Definitely it will be false. You can see that. And what if we, instead of double equal, try equal method, and the output will not be much different. We will still have false, which is fine, which is good. But interesting, there was an interface since .NET Framework 1.1. What was that? It was I structural variable, and it can take array I structural equatable, right? So I just replaced var with interface name, and if I try now, I will still be getting false, right? There is one more step required, and in the equals I need to pass the second argument, which is difficulty comparer. We need to give that an object, and we need its default behavior. And if I try now, I will have true. Isn't that awesome? Behind the scene, instead of comparing the objects, the references, it actually goes into those arrays and compare each item one by one. What I mean by that, if I try to change 3 to, let's say, 5, and if I run that code now, it will definitely return me false. All right. And if I make that second array with 5, I will get it true. Right. So this is how we can compare the arrays, not from the object perspective, the values inside those arrays, and that will be one-to-one mapping. The number of items between those two arrays should be same, and this is not for only for the primitive data types. It also goes with the objects as well. What I mean by that, let's assume we have a struct or record with the name of user, and it has let's say name and ID, and instead of that primitive data types I pass some users to that array, that is u1 and the ID is 1. And let me reuse this declaration initialization, and let me use these two values, and that will be u2 and the ID will be 2, and same we will use with the second array of users. All right, now the both have two users and it's initialized with same values. Now let me run the code, and you can see it's still true, right? And if I try to change the value, let's say for the second one I use that as user 3 and initialize again, we will get false, right? So this is not only for primitive data types, we can pass custom objects as well. So that was missing, and I have seen lots and lot of repos on GitHub, but I haven't find uh, this interface in the code. But this is a very handy feature where we are comparing two arrays instead of looping through those arrays and manually initializing or capturing the status in the variables, local variables. Why not just use this feature, compare those two arrays? And even we can expose a method as well to get rid of this boilerplate code. What I mean by this, I am trying to create a method. It will return us bool, and this will be r equal arrays, And here I will use object first and object second, like this. And I will reuse this above mentioned code. Let me just copy and move this one here. And what I will do is array and second array. And I can cast first one as I structural equatable, and will go for the second one in the same way as I structural equatable, not comparable. And those values could be null, so we need to make sure that we are taking care of null exceptions. And uh, right above this comparison, we need to also check that if the first array is not null and second array is not also null, and we can go here to just first array equals second array, just like that. And instead of printing on console, we can say return this value, and by default return false. Now we have a very fine method which compares two arrays, and we can now simply pass normal arrays to that method. Let's assume we have two arrays, first second, with some objects, and we want to see the results. So for that one I will use r equal arrays, and I will simply pass first and second, like this, and the results will not be any different. Let me rerun the application. You can see we are getting false because previously we have changed this u2 to u3. I will revert that back, and if I rerun now, I will get true. So you can use that method in a single place, and you can use as many time as is required. So that was all for today's video. In case of any query or question, do ask me in the comments, and see you in the next video.